Have you ever looked at someone else's life and quietly wondered, why does everything seem to work out for them while I'm still fighting the same battles? Maybe you've watched people your age buy their dream home, build successful businesses, or achieve goals that once seemed impossible. Meanwhile, you're sitting in your car after another exhausting day, wondering if you're falling behind. That feeling is more common than most people admit. The truth is, almost everyone has a moment when life feels like it's moving forward without them. The difference isn't that successful people never experience doubt. The difference is what they choose to do while doubt is sitting beside them. Imagine standing at the bottom of a mountain before sunrise. It's dark. The path is difficult to see. The air is cold, and every step feels uncertain. Someone else might look at that mountain and decide it's too high to climb. Another person looks at the exact same mountain and sees a challenge worth accepting. The mountain hasn't changed. Only the mindset has. Winning your life doesn't happen because one lucky opportunity suddenly appears. It doesn't happen because you were born into the perfect family or met the right people at exactly the right time. Winning your life begins with a decision, a quiet decision that nobody else may even notice. A decision that says, I'm done waiting for permission. Most people spend years waiting. Waiting for confidence. Waiting for motivation. Waiting until they have more money. Waiting until life becomes easier. But life has a funny way of rewarding movement, not waiting. Think about a parked car. No matter how powerful the engine is, you can't steer it until it's moving. The same is true for your life. Direction becomes clearer after you start moving, not before. That's why so many dreams stay trapped inside notebooks, saved in phone notes, or buried inside conversations that begin with the words, one day. One day I'll start my business. One day I'll lose the weight. One day I'll write the book. One day I'll go back to school. One day I'll finally believe in myself. But one day has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. Here's something nobody tells you when you're growing up. You don't suddenly wake up feeling fearless. Courage doesn't arrive first. Action does. Every successful person you've ever admired had moments when they questioned themselves. They wondered if they were smart enough, talented enough, strong enough. The difference is they kept walking while carrying those questions. Think about a child learning to ride a bicycle. They don't master balance on the first attempt. They wobble. They fall. Sometimes they scrape their knees and cry. But every fall teaches their body something new. Eventually, what once felt impossible becomes second nature. Life works the same way. Failure isn't your enemy. Quitting is. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet aren't the ones who never failed. They're the ones who became friends with failure because they understood it was part of the process. Picture an old oak tree standing in the middle of an open field. Through decades, it has survived storms, lightning, freezing winters, and scorching summers. If that tree could speak, it probably wouldn't tell stories about the sunny days. It would tell stories about the storms that forced its roots to grow deeper. Your struggles are doing something similar. Every difficult season is growing roots you can't yet see. Right now, it may feel like nothing is changing. You wake up, go to work, handle responsibilities, come home tired, repeat. From the outside, it looks like an ordinary life. But inside, something powerful is happening if you refuse to give up. Discipline is quietly replacing excuses. Patience is replacing frustration. Experience is replacing fear. These changes don't happen overnight. They happen one ordinary day at a time. People often underestimate ordinary days. They celebrate championships, but ignore the early morning workouts. They admire successful entrepreneurs, but forget the years of rejection. They applaud best-selling authors without thinking about the lonely nights spent writing pages nobody would read for years. Success is usually invisible before it becomes obvious. That's why consistency feels so difficult. You're putting in effort before there's evidence that your effort matters. Imagine planting seeds in your backyard. On the first day, you water the soil. Nothing happens. The second day, you water it again. Still nothing. A week passes. Nothing. A month passes. Still nothing visible. Someone walking by might laugh and say, "You're wasting your time." But what they can't see is what's happening underground. Roots. Life always builds roots before it grows branches. The same is true for your goals. Maybe you're studying after work while everyone else is watching television. Maybe you're waking up at 5 in the morning to train. Maybe you're saving money while others are spending every paycheck. Maybe you're practicing a skill that nobody is applauding yet. It feels lonely because growth often happens in silence. But silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. Some of the biggest transformations begin long before anyone notices them. Remember this whenever you're tempted to compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. You're not behind. You're building. And buildings that last are never rushed. The strongest foundations are poured slowly, carefully, one layer at a time. The people who seem to rise overnight usually spent years becoming the person capable of handling that success. Those years weren't glamorous. They were filled with quiet choices, lonely mornings, difficult conversations, and moments when quitting would have been easier than continuing. The hardest battles you'll ever fight won't happen in front of other people. They'll happen in your own mind. There will be mornings when the alarm goes off and a voice whispers, "You deserve a break." There will be evenings when you've worked all day and another voice says, "Start tomorrow." There will be moments when one rejection feels like proof that you're not good enough. And if you're not careful, those small voices will become the narrator of your life. Here's what most people don't realize. Your brain is designed to protect you, not necessarily to help you grow. It wants comfort. It wants certainty. It wants familiar routines. Growth asks for the exact opposite. Growth asks you to become comfortable with uncertainty. It asks you to leave the familiar behind and walk into places where you don't yet know the outcome. That's uncomfortable. That's why so many people stay exactly where they are. Not because they lack potential, but because comfort feels safer than possibility. Imagine you're standing on the edge of a lake at sunrise. The water is perfectly still. Across the lake is everything you've ever wanted. Your dream career, financial freedom, confidence, peace, the life you've imagined for years. The only problem? There isn't a bridge. You have to swim. Some people spend years standing on the shore, waiting for someone to build that bridge. They blame the weather. They blame their circumstances. They convince themselves that someday the crossing will become easier. Meanwhile, another person steps into the cold water. The first few strokes are difficult. The water feels heavier than expected. Their muscles burn. More than once, they wonder if they should turn back. But with every stroke, the opposite shore gets closer. Life rewards swimmers, not spectators. Too many people spend their lives watching others succeed while convincing themselves they'll begin when the time is right. The truth is, there has never been a perfect moment in history to chase a dream. Every generation has faced uncertainty. Every successful person has faced obstacles. The difference wasn't timing. It was commitment. Think about a sculptor standing in front of a massive block of marble. To everyone else, it's just a heavy piece of stone. But the sculptor already sees the masterpiece hidden inside. Every strike of the hammer removes something unnecessary. Every careful cut reveals more of what's been there all along. Your habits work exactly the same way. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you're chiseling away procrastination. Every workout removes a little weakness. Every book you read removes a little ignorance. Every difficult conversation removes a little fear. You're not becoming someone completely different. You're uncovering the strongest version of yourself that has always existed beneath the surface. But here's where many people make a critical mistake. They expect transformation to feel exciting every single day. It won't. In fact, most meaningful progress feels surprisingly ordinary. The athlete doesn't always feel inspired to train. The entrepreneur doesn't wake up every morning overflowing with motivation. The musician doesn't always feel creative. They simply show up. Again, and again, and again, because they understand something powerful. Motivation is a visitor. Discipline is a roommate. Motivation might stay for a day. Discipline stays through the storm. Picture two houses built on the same street. The first house is built quickly. The builders rush every step because they want people to admire the finished product as soon as possible. The second house takes much longer. Every beam is inspected. Every foundation is reinforced. Every detail is carefully measured. Months later, a violent storm arrives. The first house begins to crack. The second house barely moves. Why? Because strength is created long before it's tested. The same is true for character. Your difficult days are building the foundation you'll rely on when life becomes unpredictable. Maybe you're facing disappointment right now. Maybe you've been rejected from jobs you desperately wanted. Maybe your business isn't growing as fast as you hoped. Maybe you've worked harder than anyone around you, yet the results still seem invisible. That can be discouraging, but invisible progress is still progress. Consider an iceberg floating in the ocean. People admire the part they can see. What they don't notice is that nearly all of its strength exists below the surface. Your confidence works that way. Your resilience works that way. Your wisdom works that way. Long before the world recognizes your success, you're developing qualities that success requires. One day, someone will look at your life and say, "You got lucky." They won't see the weekends you sacrificed. They won't see the nights you stayed up studying while everyone else slept. They won't see the opportunities you turned down because they didn't align with your purpose. They'll only notice the results. That's okay. Results don't need to explain the journey. Your responsibility isn't to convince everyone else how hard you've worked. Your responsibility is to keep becoming the person your future requires. Every decision you make today is casting a vote for the person you'll become tomorrow. One healthy meal doesn't transform your body. One workout doesn't make you strong. One chapter doesn't make you an expert. One act of kindness doesn't define your character. But repeated thousands of times, those small actions shape an extraordinary life. Never underestimate the power of a single day lived with intention. Because one intentional day becomes one intentional week. One intentional week becomes one intentional month. One intentional month becomes one intentional year. And eventually, you'll look back and realize the life you once dreamed about wasn't created through one dramatic moment. It was built through hundreds of quiet decisions that nobody applauded at the time. That's how lasting victories are won. Not in the spotlight, but in the moments when no one is watching and you choose to move forward anyway. There comes a moment in every person's life when they have to answer a question no one else can answer for them. Who am I becoming? Not who your parents expected you to be. Not who your friends think you should become. Not who social media tells you is successful. Who are you becoming through the choices you make every single day? That's a powerful question because your future isn't created by your intentions. It's created by your habits. You can dream about success every night. You can watch motivational videos every morning. You can tell everyone about your goals. But if your daily actions don't match your dreams, your future won't either. Think about a plane leaving Los Angeles for New York. If the pilot changes the course by just 1 degree at takeoff, the passengers won't notice anything unusual. The flight feels normal. Everything seems exactly the same. But after thousands of miles, that tiny 1-degree shift lands the plane in an entirely different city. Life works exactly like that. Tiny choices seem insignificant in the moment. Reading 10 pages instead of scrolling for 30 minutes. Saving $20 instead of spending it impulsively. Choosing to practice your craft for 1 extra hour. Making 1 phone call you've been avoiding. These moments feel too small to matter. But they do. Because success rarely changes your life in one giant leap. It changes your life one small decision at a time. Imagine a blacksmith standing in front of a glowing piece of steel. With every strike of the hammer, the metal changes ever so slightly. One hit doesn't create a sword. One strike doesn't reveal its strength. But thousands of precise blows transform raw metal into something powerful enough to withstand enormous pressure. Your character is forged the same way. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your patience. Every promise you keep builds integrity. Every obstacle you face develops resilience. You may not notice those changes today, but one day you'll walk into a situation that would have overwhelmed the old version of you, and you'll handle it with calm confidence. That's when you'll realize you've been growing all along. One of the biggest lies people believe is that confidence comes before action. It doesn't. Confidence is the reward for keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you're going to wake up early, and you actually do, it grows. Every time you finish something you started, it grows. Every time you choose discipline over excuses, it grows. Confidence isn't built by talking about what you're capable of. It's built by proving it to yourself. Over and over again. Picture an old craftsman in a quiet workshop. He's been building furniture for decades. His hands move with precision. His measurements are exact. He doesn't rush. Someone watching him for the first time might think his talent appeared naturally. What they don't see are the thousands of mistakes he made years ago. The tables that leaned. The cabinets that didn't fit. The wood he accidentally ruined. His mastery wasn't born from perfection. It was born from persistence. The same is true for every meaningful achievement. Behind every successful athlete are years of practices no one attended. Behind every respected leader are countless difficult decisions nobody applauded. Behind every confident speaker are speeches that didn't go well. Behind every thriving business are setbacks the public never hears about. People admire the finished product. They rarely appreciate the process. That's why comparing your beginning to someone else's breakthrough is one of the fastest ways to lose motivation. You don't know what they endured. You don't know how many times they wanted to quit. You don't know how many sacrifices they quietly made. So stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. Your only competition is the person you were yesterday. If today's version of you is a little wiser, a little stronger, a little more disciplined, then you're winning, even if nobody notices yet. There's another truth that can completely change the way you see setbacks. Sometimes life delays your success because it's preparing you to handle it. Imagine giving the keys to a high-performance sports car to someone who's never driven before. The car isn't the problem. The driver isn't ready. Now imagine that same person spends years learning discipline, patience, responsibility, and skill. When they finally receive the keys, they're capable of controlling the power they've been given. Success works the same way. Many people ask for bigger opportunities. Fewer people prepare themselves to carry the weight that comes with those opportunities. Fame brings pressure. Leadership brings responsibility. Wealth brings decisions. Influence brings accountability. If your character doesn't grow with your success, success can become a burden instead of a blessing. That's why your current season matters so much. The lessons you're learning today may be protecting the future you've been praying for. Perhaps you're frustrated because things aren't happening as quickly as you expected. Maybe doors keep closing. Maybe plans keep changing. Maybe the path ahead looks nothing like the picture you imagined. But consider this. A seed doesn't argue with the seasons. It doesn't panic because winter arrives. It doesn't demand fruit before its roots are ready. It trusts the process built into nature. There are seasons for planting, seasons for growing, seasons for pruning, and seasons for harvest. Human lives follow a similar rhythm. Some seasons are meant for learning. Others are meant for building. Others are meant for waiting with purpose. Waiting doesn't always mean you're standing still. Sometimes you're developing the strength that will make your next opportunity possible. The people who achieve extraordinary lives understand this better than anyone else. They don't waste every delay complaining. They use delays to prepare. They don't let closed doors convince them to stop knocking. They improve themselves until the next door opens. And when it finally does, they're no longer the same person who first started the journey. They're stronger. They're wiser. They're more patient. Most importantly, they're ready for the life they've spent years working toward. Even when, in the beginning, they couldn't yet see how every challenge was quietly shaping the person they were destined to become. Now, take a moment and imagine yourself 10 years from today. Picture where you are, the house you live in, the people sitting around your dinner table, the work that fills your days, the peace or regret you carry when you look in the mirror. Now ask yourself one simple question. What decisions created that life? Because the future doesn't arrive by accident. It arrives through the choices you make when nobody is forcing you to choose. One decision to wake up instead of hitting snooze. One decision to read instead of complain. One decision to forgive instead of holding on to bitterness. One decision to try again after everyone else expected you to quit. Those decisions seem ordinary, but ordinary decisions, repeated consistently, create extraordinary lives. Think about an archer preparing to hit a distant target. Before releasing the arrow, they don't stare at the ground. They don't focus on the people standing beside them. Their eyes stay locked on the target. If they become distracted for even a moment, the arrow misses its mark. Your life works the same way. The world is full of distractions, endless notifications, negative opinions, comparison, fear, comfort, excuses disguised as logic. Every distraction pulls your attention away from the future you're trying to create. The people who win in life aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. Very often, they're simply the ones who protect their focus. They understand that every yes to something unimportant is often a no to something that truly matters. So they choose carefully. They guard their time. They protect their energy. They become intentional about the people they listen to and the habits they repeat. Because they know something many people learn too late. Your environment quietly shapes your future. If you spend every day surrounded by negativity, eventually negativity begins to sound normal. If everyone around you settles for average, average begins to feel acceptable. But when you surround yourself with people who dream bigger, work harder, and refuse to surrender, something inside you begins to change. Their standards become your standards. Their discipline challenges your excuses. Their belief reminds you of what's possible. Never underestimate the power of the people you allow into your life. At the same time, remember this. Not everyone will understand your journey. Some people will question your decisions. Others will laugh at your goals because they can't imagine achieving them themselves. Don't let someone else's limited vision become the limit on your future. The greatest breakthroughs in history were often doubted before they were celebrated. If every dream required everyone's approval, very few dreams would ever become reality. So keep moving, even when progress feels slow, even when the results are invisible, even when doubt whispers louder than confidence. Because every step forward is proof that you've refused to surrender. And one day, you'll wake up and realize that the mountain you were once terrified to climb is now the view from where you're standing. The obstacles that once looked impossible have become stories you tell to encourage someone else. The fears that once controlled your decisions no longer have power over you. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. You became the kind of person who keeps going. The kind of person who finishes what they start. The kind of person who refuses to let temporary pain steal a permanent dream. That is what it means to win your life. Winning isn't about having more than everyone else. It's not about impressing strangers. It's not about chasing applause. Winning your life means becoming the person you were created to become. It means living with purpose instead of excuses, with courage instead of fear, with discipline instead of delay, with gratitude instead of entitlement. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to wait until next Monday. You don't have to wait until New Year's Day. You don't have to wait until everything feels perfect. Your new story can begin today, with one decision, one action, one promise that this time you will keep. Years from now, people may ask how you changed your life. They'll expect you to describe one incredible opportunity or one lucky break. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck. It was the morning you decided to get up when quitting felt easier. It was the afternoon you chose growth over comfort. It was the evening you kept working after everyone else had stopped. It was thousands of unseen moments that slowly transformed your future. So, wherever you are right now, whether you're starting from nothing, rebuilding after failure, or standing on the edge of a brand new dream, remember this. Your past does not get the final vote. Your fears do not get the final vote. Your setbacks do not get the final vote. You do. Every sunrise is another opportunity to choose discipline, to choose hope, to choose action, to choose the life you've always wanted. And if no one has told you this lately, hear these words and believe them. You are capable of more than you've allowed yourself to imagine. There is strength inside you that hasn't been tested yet. There is potential inside you that hasn't been fully discovered yet. There is a future waiting for the version of you who refuses to quit. So stand up. Take the first step. Then take another. And another. Keep moving until your actions become your identity, and your identity creates the life you've always dreamed of. The journey starts now. If this message spoke to you, don't let it end here. Share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Leave a comment with the goal you're committed to achieving, because speaking it aloud is the first step toward owning it. And if you're ready to keep growing, subscribe and join this community. Every video is a reminder that your greatest chapter is still ahead. And as long as you keep moving forward, your best days are not behind you. They are waiting for you.